Welcome to Hidden Self. My name's Chris and this is the fourth video in our series A Journey into Our Soul. Today we're going to talk about body and how our body uses the thoughts from our mind. In our previous video we talked about self-image, and really self-image comes down to the capabilities that we perceive we have. That is really all a self-image is. The capabilities that we perceive that we have. And the reason why this is important is that this video will look at the relationship that a living cell has with the energy and the information that energy has that it uses to transform it from a seed into a tree, from a baby into a human being, from a personality or a certain character identity into another identity. We're going to be looking at this relationship between energy and the transformation into a physical form. But unlike the previous examples that were used regarding radio frequencies that a radio player then translates and uses those, life has an adaptability. It can actually adapt and use the different instructions in multiple ways. What do I mean by that? Well, let's use an acorn growing into an oak tree analogy. Believe it or not, if I slice the acorn in half, I don't see a picture of an oak tree in it. In fact, I don't see anything in it. And it's a little bit like the USB example that I used again in the previous video. If you are interested in that, I encourage you to go back and watch the video 3. What we're seeing is that there's information and instructions contained in the acorn that only its body, only the receiver, which is its body, can translate using energy from the sun and using nutrients from the soil to translate that information contained in the seed that then is used to grow into a tree. Now the thing is, every single oak tree is different. And in fact, if I use this example, look at this tree here. Look at the root structure. What's happening here is that the root structure is not defined. It is adapting to the environment in which it's finding. It's creeping along the wall. It's creeping along the buildings. It's tracking and finding areas in which it can embed its root system, so it can take energy from the sun and use that to get nutrients, food from the soil, so it can continue to grow into the self-identity that the seed has within it. Now, make no mistake, what we're going to now explore is how is that possible? How is that life form adapting? Well, what's happening is that the original self-image of the seed then forms an instruction, and it uses the energy from the sun as the energy force, and it's got instructions within it, and it instructs the biological cells of the seed to start forming into a physical form. And as the physical form says, wait a second, there's no nutrients here, it then translates back into the self-image and it says, have you got a different set of instructions for me? Because I need to adapt. And believe it or not, the seed itself comes up with different instructions for the root systems to go left or right. The physical form is absolutely nothing without the instructions of the spirit or the self-image or the spirit of the seed. Now some of you, boom, think I've gone completely nuts. Pardon the pun. But what I'm trying to get at is that that there is a real relationship between a self-image and the way that the physical form of a body, of any living cell, uses that self-image and then expresses that in a different form. So let's take us. Let's take a human being. If I feel that I've been rejected or that my life has very little hope, the self-image that I contain will actually represent the characteristics or the capabilities of my self-image. And that profile, that self-image of me being resigned or feeling useless or feeling that I can't cope with life, that will be expressed in my physiology, and that will be expressed in my immune system, because what is happening is that my body is starting to respond to the conditions of my mind and not the conditions that it is facing. Unlike the tree can only have one reality. The tree only has an external reference point which feeds back the outcomes of what it's trying to do. That is why a root system, and that is why every tree is actually slightly bent. Every trunk of a tree is slightly bent. Every branch of a tree is slightly bent. And what it's doing is modifying. That's why it's continually feeding back into its internal core instruction manual, if you like, its spirit, and asking for that information to be adapted. And as the self-image of the tree changes, so will the instructions that the energy through the tree will change too. And if you think that is crazy, that is exactly what is happening to us. We have an idea about what an outcome should be. We have an expectation about how life should be based on our self-image and our experiences in life. We then go out into the world, and if things don't actually turn out the way that we think, then we only have a couple of options. We can either feel that we're inadequate, or that we've been unjust, or that we've been unjustly stopped from achieving our goal, or we can feel that this is a challenge and an opportunity to learn, or we can withdraw and just become isolated from the world, that the world's too hard, if you like. But it's going to be our experiences of our expectation and the outcomes that we get from the behaviour that we start to act upon, that then we feed back into our mind's eye to say, is this working? Is our behaviour, is our attitude, is what we're doing working? And if it's all too hard, then we start to rationalise and we peel back about what our objections or what our capabilities are in life. So if we are feeding our biological cell, our biological body, information and instructions about our capabilities or our lack of capabilities, then our body's going to respond through feelings. And that is the physical representation of our mind. Electrical pulses go through our mind, and we have these different stories, these different narratives about our self-image, and instantly that triggers a physical form through feelings and emotions. And emotions are the language of behaviour and reaction. If I'm feeling angry, I'm not going to be talking in a nice, loving form. And I'm not going to be caressive and gentle if I'm feeling that somebody's stuck a knife in my back. Equally, if I feel that somebody's really helped me and the compassion that someone showed me and their generosity, I'm probably going to be thankful and a state of love for that person at some level, that, you know, a state of affection for that person, and my actions are going to reflect that attitude, and my reaction and my behaviour is going to reflect that. Now the thing is, we will never achieve anything that our self-image doesn't represent. To be a loving person, we have to have an image of ourselves being a loving person. It doesn't just happen. There is a relationship between a physical form, right, and the information, the story, the song, if you like, that we are broadcasting to our body to play. What are the actions that we are playing out are a representation of our mind. And it is our mind that is in control. So the thing that I really want to leave you with is that there is a relationship between the carrier force in which our mind uses to pass information to a biological form that then starts to react and respond and express those ideas. And as a result of that, it's trying to meet the expectation of that instruction. It's trying to grow or trying to reach the goal of that thought. And as it's starting to kind of waver, it will provide you the outcomes that that behaviour achieves. That will start to come back into your self-image, to demand from that self-image to come up with different thoughts. So you're going from thoughts to self-image to action, reaction. It doesn't even have to be a physical action like that. It can be a physiology change. Now that physiology change creates an outcome that comes back into your self-image. Does my outcome match my expectation? And if it doesn't, your self-image will start to ask and think about different thoughts that it can use to bring back into your self-image that then it can start to express in a physical action. And then that physical action has consequences, has outcomes. That outcome then starts to match against your expectation, and that if it doesn't match your expectation, then your self-image will start to think of different thoughts that it can use to try and satisfy that self-image. Or it might say, use different thoughts to change your self-image. Now this is the thing. We are all part of this universe. We use the same structure as plants. We use the same structure as animals. We are animals. If you believe that your mindset, your self-image can't be changed, then you are correct. But let me tell you, it can be changed. If you are feeling that you are living in a locked life, or that you've withdrawn yourself because life's battles are too hard, that can be changed. Thanks for watching, and in our next video we dive deep into our beliefs and how they affect the quality of our health and the quality of our life.